if you cross the line, you suddenly become hostile. It's something you don't want to deal with.
Welcome to Architecture Corner and episode 18. Today's guest is Joakim Lindbom, and we will talk about loyalty programs. Hello, Joakim.
Hello.
So how are you today?
I'm fine. I'm just the first days after vacation, so I'm very fine, I would say.
Yeah. So, do you have any loyalty cards in your wallet like this one?
I think the answer is yes, one or two of those. I could have something like 40 or 50, which would be totally ridiculous, and I think that is actually the first problem when it comes to loyalty cards. So many companies want me to be loyal to them, and their mechanism today is to put a card in my wallet, and really that's not a scalable solution. My wallet isn't big enough to hold all these cards.
Is the problem that you shop in different places and have a lot of loyalty cards, or is it that you don't want to use them at all?
I think actually for myself it's the basic problem is that I'm not loyal. I simply don't go to one single brand or one single store, so I follow around, and by some reason I follow for their approach of giving me some kind of rebate, and then suddenly I have a card in my wallet. But really I don't go to one single brand or something like that. So that's the first problem, of course. I'm not loyal enough.
But do you see any benefits with loyalty programs that you get or other people could get?
Of course, there is some kind of rebating scheme that you get some kind of reduction in price for some kind of product or services. And of course, as a consumer, can I get something where everything is equal besides the price is lower? That's an advantage, of course, if I already decided to go for that product or service. Of course, the disadvantage is that these companies want to push more services and products to myself or other people, and I think the upsell approach or the what I'm trying to do, of course, is to increase sales, and not always something that you perhaps were planning for buying, and that's the downside.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any differences between different loyalty programs and so on? This card, for example, I put in money on it also, and then I got 20% rebate on the coffee.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that is, of course, from the vendor side or the sales side, that's something when you actually deposit money, then you are buying into them. They are buying your loyalty. You don't want to lose your money, even if it's only a couple of 100 kronas. I mean, still you want to get that money, so you will come back to that specific card, which I also have in my wallet. Or actually I have it, and I would say that they are quite good in one sense, in that they have actually abandoned the card, and they have gone for an app in the phone so that I can pay with the phone instead. And beyond that is the same. So I think that this is an example where I think the loyalty programs are going, that the card as a physical thing you put in the wallet is going away. We will not have the actual card anymore.
Yeah, so it's just throwing it away?
Yep, absolutely. It's gone. And there are even better examples, I would say. Almost 10 years ago in Sweden, we have this petrol chain selling petrol to cars, which actually started out with a loyalty program without a card, and it said, okay, come with whichever card. You can take your credit card, you can take your library card, doesn't matter, as long as it's a card with a unique ID, we will identify you, we will recognize you. And I think this company did something very unique at that time, and we are seeing this kind of approach in more and more places, that okay, as long as you can identify yourself, then we're happy. And that is exactly what I would say would be from a card point of view or identity point of view, that would be the solution. Talking about loyalty programs, talking about websites, talking about whatever, the only thing I need is to be able to prove that I am myself and nobody else. I don't need 100 different identities. I don't need 100 different cards issued by whoever and whatever. But rather, the only thing I need is something identifying that I am myself and nobody else.
Yeah.
End of story.
And if you look at it from the business perspective, the vendor who sells stuff to you, then it's about knowing your customer, and that is very, very popular.
Of course, but from that point of view, they don't need a special identity of myself. They just need to know who I am. And if they use my social security number, my passport number, or whichever number, it actually doesn't matter as long as it's a unique identifier.
Yeah. Is this also loyalty programs an example of something you try on old IT systems? I know that some flight miles are built in that way because you couldn't know who was flying.
Now, of course, that's one part of the puzzle. I would say that since you have systems which are demanding a specific identifier, of course you could build a layer where you switch out, you get the passport number, for instance, and you translate it into the mileage number. You could do that. If the vendors don't think about this, I mean, and I think this is one part of the problem, is that many vendors really don't understand or see it from a consumer point of view. They don't see the wallet which is 5 centimeters thick. They just want to put their card, and their world is their card, and that's not a problem. But as long as you take the approach and looking from the consumer point of view, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. So if you're not loyal, then you get problem. If I only go to one store and one airline and one coffee shop, then I have a rather thin wallet.
Of course you would do, but who would do that? Who would be stupid enough to do that? I mean, buying into some kind of voluntary monopoly situation, that would be kind of stupid, I would say.
Yeah. And what about, we talked about security in previous episodes, and that you and I talked about Target and they sell your customer information.
Yeah.
The credit card companies has a lot of information, the banks, if they act on behalf of credit card companies. But what about those chains? Is there another disadvantage from a security perspective with these loyalty programs?
I don't really see that. I mean, as long as they can identify you as a person, it doesn't really matter whether they are using the loyalty card number or something else to identify you with. I mean, they can still sell you information. So that aspect is really not a problem. Of course, there is, if you combine customer stocks to two different companies, and if they have an equal way of identifying, the combination is simpler and easier, but it's not impossible in any way to do it without it. So in a practical view, I don't think there is a difference, actually.
Yeah. And do you think it's those information that the companies store in the loyalty programs, do they have enough security to protect that?
No, they don't. Absolutely not. And we've seen so many examples where it's leaking and so on. So it's both the information, the depth and the breadth of the information, but also the time, how long time they are storing it. And of course, from a selling point of view, you would like to know as much as possible. You would like to look at trends, and you would like to look at other things. But I could say, I mean, it's kind of funny where I live in Helsingborg in most of the year, but I normally spend a couple of months in the summer in the summer house, and it's very typical that we have the same store, the same even part of the store in very close to where I live here and very close to the summer house. And whatever happens is that when I come to summer house, I always get different kinds of offers from the old ones, and it takes a long time. They don't even though I've spent the last 10 years in the summer house, they don't detect that pattern that I should send offers that are close to where I am. So I'm always out of sync. I always get offers from where I'm not. And that's something which, of course, from a consumer point of view is irritating. And that could be a disadvantage of loyalty programs when they are not intelligent enough.
So they collect a lot of information, but they can't use it in a good manner that is beneficial for you and neither them.
Exactly, and in this case, actually, it's a disadvantage for them, because I, as a consumer, actually, I've noticed this not once but many times that this is just plain stupid. They have a lot of information which simply are not intelligent enough to use.
So, what is the recommendation for the chains to handle the loyalty programs from your side?
From my side, I would say that they are always threading on a very thin line, where they are up to one point they are following, they are supportive, they are giving you an advantage. But once you cross that very thin line, you become quite scary. And we talked about that before. It might be myself being a bit sensitive, but I think there is something where if you cross the line, you suddenly become hostile. It's something you don't want to deal with, and of course that could be one of the reasons why this chain is hesitant of using information. But I don't. In this case, I don't think so. I think it's simply that they don't have good enough systems. But there is something you really need to be careful with, where you don't go across that definite thin line.
and then it's about to get rid of the physical cards, I guess.
The physical cards, actually, and we have technology in place since many years. The way right now would be to couple it with NFC, of course, in your phone or in your wristwatch, or which in your body. We are at that point right now. Doesn't really matter, but I think using NFC within a unique identifier is absolutely enough today. Then of course we can talk about the security aspects of that, if it's good enough, but I think the approach right now would be to go that route, and then we need to see how would you store the identities, how would you make sure that the unique identifier view is not copyable, so to say, and not spoofable.
Think that the benefits are worth the downsides for loyalty programs right now? Should they address that part also, so you have more use of it as a customer?
Yes, that is absolutely true as well. I mean, of course, it depends what kind of loyalty program we're talking about. The flight, trains or flight or hotels, or we're talking about grocery stores or whatever. I mean, they have different offers, different kinds of ways of approaching the customers. But of course, I still see that a company which is good at using information could go quite much longer and still being seen as valuable and non-scary. Absolutely, you can do that. But I'm quite sure we will see a couple of companies which really don't have respect for this situation, and they will make a fool of themselves, I think.
So thank you very much. It's been nice to have you back for the second season, and we will see more of you in the future, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Architecture Corner, and welcome back next week.